Okay, let's unpack this. Have you ever stopped to think how much your own decisions, even the really personal ones, are actually shaped by the people around you? Today, we're diving into a really fascinating paper from back in 1992. It's called Beyond Rational Choice: The Social Dynamics of How People Seek Help by Bernice Pescosolido. And our mission for this deep dive is to explore how our social connections, fundamentally influence the choices we make, moving beyond just simple logic.
Yeah, it's a great topic
Yeah.
because traditionally a lot of thinking leans on what's called rational choice theory. And this view, it basically sees decision making as uh, individuals just logically weighing costs and benefits, to maximize their own gain or utility.
Right, the sort of maximize your outcome idea.
Exactly. It's quite an elegant model, actually. It gets applied all over the place in so many fields. And I mean, it makes sense on the surface, right? It lines up with what a lot of people might think of as just, well, common sense psychology. Like we're all just making these smart individual calculations.
Okay, so if that's the traditional view, the sort of standard model, what's the big limitation? What's the blind spot this paper points out when we think about how we actually make decisions, in the real social world?
Well, the paper argues pretty strongly that this pure individual rational choice model, while maybe useful sometimes, it just doesn't fully capture the sheer complexity of social life. It can almost strip individuals from society, is how they put it.
Yeah.
By treating all those social things, your friends, family, community, as just external influences.
Like background noise almost.
Precisely,
Right.
like background noise, rather than the core mechanism of how decisions actually get made. And that flips the question, doesn't it? What if social interaction is actually the starting point for understanding our choices, not an afterthought?
Wow, okay. That is a pretty big shift in perspective. So if it's not individuals acting alone, what framework does the paper propose instead?
It introduces something called the Social Organization Strategy Framework, or SOS for short. And this framework basically posits that social interaction isn't just part of life, it's the very basis of social life. And our social networks, they're the main way we learn about problems, figure out how to handle difficulties.
So the focus shifts away from just choice.
Exactly. It shifts from that isolated choice to seeing socially constructed patterns of decisions. It means we should probably start by seeing people not as these isolated little calculators, but as fundamentally social beings, pragmatic problem solvers using their networks to navigate things.
That really makes me think. Yeah, it's sort of like, I don't know, when you're choosing a job or even deciding what movie to watch sometimes, it's rarely just pure logic. It's often about who you talk to, what people you trust recommend.
Absolutely.
So how does this SOS framework actually play out? Like in a real world example, what did the paper use to show this different way of looking at things?
So to really bring the SOS framework to life, the research applies it specifically to how people seek medical help. Now, traditional models often boil this down to like one single choice point. Do you see a doctor? Yes or no?
Right. Very simplistic.
Very. But this deep dive looks at the whole illness episode as this dynamic, really social process. It's about coping with uncertainty, and people are actively using their social world to do that.
And they found actual data to back this up. That's the fascinating part.
Yes, absolutely. They used data from a big national survey back in 76, the National Survey of Access to Medical Care. And what they found wasn't just one way people sought care. They identified 8 distinct patterns, 8 different strategies.
8? Wow. Like what?
Well, sure, consulting physicians was one, but there were also these interesting combinations involving family, friends using non-prescription drugs, home remedies, and even alternative healers like curanderos, these traditional folk healers. It really highlights this idea that the paper calls medical pluralism.
Medical pluralism, meaning multiple approaches kind of exist side by side.
Exactly. Multiple influences, multiple pathways coexist within a community, within someone's network.
So it's not just what choice people made in the end, but the whole social journey to get there. That really challenges the idea of a purely individual health decision, doesn't it?
It absolutely does.
Were there specific social factors that seemed to push people towards one strategy over another?
Yes, and this is crucial. The study found that social factors, things like your age, race, if you were married, family income, even how skeptical you were about modern medicine, all significantly influence which of these complex strategies people ended up using. So these social characteristics, they aren't just minor details. They actively shape these pathways to care. And that gives us insights the rational choice model often misses because it tends to overlook that rich social texture of decision-making.
Okay, so pulling this all together then, the real insight here isn't just, oh, social factors influence us, we kind of know that. It seems more profound. It's that the very process of choosing in these complex situations anyway is like a socially negotiated act, not some solo calculation. It almost redefines what individual choice even means.
Precisely. It really challenges that common belief
Hmm.
that we're always making these independent, purely rational decisions, weighing the pros and cons in a vacuum. I mean, think about it personally.
Hmm.
When you chose your career path or made a big life decision, did you really just weigh every objective factor independently? Or did, conversations with family, advice from teachers or mentors, maybe even just seeing what your friends were doing, didn't that play a huge role?
Oh, absolutely. A massive role. Yeah, it really resonates. This deep dive is a great reminder that we aren't just isolated calculators crunching numbers, we're embedded in this dynamic social web, constantly shaping it and being shaped by it too. So, maybe something for you listening to think about. What new perspective does this give you on your next choice or strategy? How might your own social networks actually be guiding your path, maybe more than you realize?